Jadon Sancho, last night late into deadline day, basically on the final hour, secured himself a move to Chelsea, officially a loan with an obligation to buy for 20 million if Chelsea finish 14th or above, potential to rise to 25 million. He's no longer a Man United player. He bid adieu to the club, the fans, and the staff today in a tweet. And I have to say, it's very, very sad the way this has all gone down for me. Now, let me make this very clear. This was the right decision for Manchester United. Getting rid of Jadon Sancho, ending this marriage after 3 very, very long, unconvincing, disappointing seasons. This was the move. However, I have to say this, it is very, very, very sad. I think Jadon Sancho, has maybe cemented his place as the worst signing in Manchester United history. And I thought about this for a while. I really thought about this for a while because let's be real, right? There are a lot of contenders here. Man United post Sir Alex Ferguson have some big, big flops. For me, Alexis Sanchez is up there. The hype that we had bringing him in, I think we were paying him $500K a week. How disappointing he was. We basically had to get rid of him. We basically had to pay somebody else to take him off our hands. He's up there. Donny van de Beek, he's up there as well too. Let's not forget how much we paid for him. The hype. People were even saying Bruno had to be dropped for him. To basically get rid of him for $500K with little to no impact in these 5 years that he's been at the club. He's up there when it comes to biggest flops. People will say Harry Maguire, but I actually think Harry Maguire, even though it was obviously way too much to spend on him, has still given us moments. He gave us a very, very good season the year we came second, in my opinion. I don't think Harry Maguire is the biggest flop Man United have made. Now, that probably speaks to the magnitude of the other flops, but for me, Maguire is not the biggest flop Man United signed. I see people saying Paul Pogba. I think Paul Pogba's time at Man United ages better every single year we see a guy go for 100 million. Every single big money signing we've seen post Paul Pogba makes his time at United actually look even better. Now, when you talk about expectation compared to reality, yes, his move did not work out. What we expected from Paul Pogba compared to what we got and having to basically lose him for free after spending 89 million, after losing him for free the first time, that is not a good look. But in terms of actual performances on the pitch, Paul Pogba is not the biggest flop that Man United have signed. Romelu Lukaku, I would even say, is not the biggest flop. Scored, I think, 20 goals in all competitions, both seasons he was here. We talked about that night in Paris and that penalty from Rashford. The first 2 goals came from him. Falcao, big flop. But that's a loan signing gone the next year. Di Maria, big flop. We got rid of him after a year, and he's still finished, I think, with the most assists, or the second most assists in the year he was here. I think the big competitor for Man United in terms of biggest flops that we've signed is the guy who's still at the club. I think it's Antony. That, for me, is the real competition when we talk about biggest flops that Man United have signed post Sir Alex. He's a big one, honestly. But honestly, chat, when you look at Jadon Sancho's time at the club, as bad as I think Antony is, let's look at Jadon Sancho's time at Man United. The first season came in with so much hype. Let's actually take it back to the origins of the Jadon Sancho saga. The 2020-21 season, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's second year, full year in charge at Man United. That's his big money marquee target. We chased Jadon Sancho for so long, so hard. I think we even bid 80 million or so pounds to take him from Dortmund. Dortmund said, no, if you want to buy him off us, you have to buy him for 100 million pounds. And Man United almost bit the bullet on that. It was only till the last day, basically, that they decided, okay, you know what? We'll wait a year. But we were quoted 100 million pounds for Jadon Sancho, and we almost bought him. Fast forward a year. Ole is persistent. We finished second in the league that year. The Glazers have no choice but to back him. They get him his long-awaited guy, Jadon Sancho. We've had to wait for over a year for this guy. We buy him for 72 million pounds. And let's not forget the circumstances in which he came to the club, missing that penalty in the final. We wrapped our arms around Jadon Sancho, tried protecting him from all the noise from the outsiders. Just focus on your football. And look, all this time at Man United ultimately burst into flames. Why is that? Numerous different reasons. But a big reason for that is the fact that his big money signing, the guy he put so much faith and trust and time into signing, Jadon Sancho, never hit the ground running. Second season, Ten Hag comes in. Let's even forgetting Ralf Rangnick comes in. Tries incorporating Jadon Sancho more with a bit more success, but still nowhere near the levels in which he made his name at Dortmund. The next year, Ten Hag comes in, his third manager in 2 years, and basically in 12 months, his third manager. Can he maybe be the one to get the most out of Jadon Sancho? In preseason, makes him such a key cog to the team, puts so much faith into him, starts the season. Sancho actually scores the first goal in Ten Hag's regime at Man United against Liverpool. But slowly and surely, the performances start to dry up. The end product starts to dry up. The confidence starts to disappear. It gets so bad, his mental health gets such a low point, and I'm not going to question a man's mental health here, right? We're all humans at the end of the day. But it gets so low for Jadon Sancho that Ten Hag actually tells him, look, take some time to yourself. Go to the Netherlands. Train by yourself. Get yourself back in the right headspace. Man United, we'll wait for you. We'll be here for you when you get back. But focus on yourself. Jadon Sancho takes 3 months off the season, basically in the mountains, finding himself, if you want to call it that. Man United are basically playing 3 months of the year without their £72 million winger. None of the fans are complaining, by the way. We give Jadon Sancho as much time off as he wants. We want to see Sancho back to his best. Take your time, brother. He comes back, and we're thinking it's like a new signing. This is a remotivated, a fresh, a healthy, a mentally good Jadon Sancho. Show us what you got, man. Show us the player that broke records at Dortmund. Show us the player we chased for 2-3 years. And there were some decent performances. The game against Leeds, his comeback. That game against Leicester, I actually think that's probably the best performance Jadon Sancho has had, that game against Leicester. The game against Chelsea towards the end of the season. There were some flashes. Still really nothing to say. Jadon Sancho has shown what he showed at Borussia Dortmund, but still as a fan base, we get behind him. We want to see him do well. The third year, is this the year that Jadon Sancho finally puts it together? Doesn't play the first game. Isn't selected for the second game. Ten Hag states that it's due to performances in training, which, by the way, with Jadon Sancho has always been a question mark hovering over his head. From his time at Dortmund, to his time with the England setup, to his time at Man United. Jadon Sancho responds on social media saying Ten Hag is lying. He's being left out for personal reasons. It's a personal vendetta against him. He won't have his name smeared, and that he will fight for Man United whenever he's called upon. He refuses to apologize publicly to Ten Hag. Ten Hag has no choice but to basically banish him from the team. Again, a guy we paid 72 million pounds for, sits out half the year, then goes to Dortmund for another 6 months, scores 3 goals when he's there, and for our third season of our 72 million pounds, we don't see him play a game for us. So in 3 years, Jadon Sancho has given us one subpar year, a second season where he missed 3 months of the year, and a third season where he didn't feature a single game for us. Antony is an awful player, and by no means is he worth the money we paid for him. And as much as I dislike Antony, I'm very tempted to say he's the worst signing United have made. But chat, actually apply context here. It's very, very difficult for me to say it's not Jadon Sancho. It's very difficult. And it's culminated by the fact that his final touch for Man United was a penalty miss against Manchester City in the Community Shield. And if you guys wanted a moment to just encapsulate Jadon Sancho's time at Manchester United, it was that penalty miss. It was uncertain, it was low on confidence, and ultimately, it was unproductive. That sums up Jadon Sancho's penalty miss, and that sums up Jadon Sancho's time at Manchester United. He leaves on deadline day with Man United potentially pocketing £25 million max for him. He was on over 250 grand a week his 3 years here. He missed a year and 3 months due to insubordination and due to, I don't even know what he was doing over in the Netherlands. And he leaves, having costed United 72 million pounds and years of chasing, he leaves for 25 million pounds max. We're lucky if we get 25 million. Now, I'm not going to be the one here to say Jadon Sancho is a bad professional. I'm not going to be the one here to say Jadon Sancho is a bad dressing room influence. I'm not going to be the one here to say Jadon Sancho is a bad player to have at your club. I don't know the guy. I actually think at times from the outside looking in, he actually looks like a timid kid. He looks like a guy that's not very outspoken. He looks like a guy that needs an arm around his shoulder at all times. He needs to be confident. He needs to kind of be shown love. I feel for him at times. But then when I also see his decision to come to Chelsea, go back home, when really at this point in his career, he needs all the media attention to be away from him. He needs to be focused on his football, and he needs a club and a team that are going to give him regular minutes. At this stage in his development, it's crucial for me. I find his decision and his desire to go to Chelsea extremely bizarre. And to be fair, look, I got nothing against Jadon Sancho. I always say on this channel, right? I'm a believer in talent, and I always want to see talent shine through. I'm a Man United fan. I'm not going to be a guy that hates on any player that doesn't work out at United, because damn it, there'd be a lot of players. Look at Angel Di Maria. I'm a big fan of Angel Di Maria. Obviously, at Man United, his time was awful. I'm a fan of the player. And for his own sake, I'm happy that he fixed his career up post-United, because he's a damn good player. And there's a part of me that really hopes that Jadon Sancho, individually, I hope he doesn't take Chelsea to the Champions League and take Chelsea to a Premier League, but I hope he himself can fix his career up. Because there's still a part of me that believes there is talent there. But do I believe that Jadon Sancho is going to go to Chelsea and completely change his career up? I don't think so. I don't believe it. I think there are major question marks in his game, his ability to actually adapt to the Premier League, the physicality, the intensity, the mentality that you need, the directness in which you need to play. I see him massively struggling almost every single situation he finds himself in the Premier League, which is why I was such a big advocate for him to go to Juventus. I think that move under Thiago Motta, very offensive-minded coach, I think it would have reaped rewards for his career. But I see the move to Chelsea, I don't see it as a move that can really jumpstart his career. That's my personal opinion. You guys are saying copium. There's no copium whatsoever. I hope personally Jadon Sancho can get his career back on track. But do I believe it's going to happen? Absolutely not. I look at Chelsea as well too. I think it's an odd decision from them. I don't really see this as a position and a profile that they're absolutely screaming out for. Not at all. When I look at how many wide players they have and how many players that like to play in between the attacking lines, it's going to be very difficult for Jadon Sancho to break into this team. And when I look at already, they're taking a chance at Joao Felix, a player in a similar predicament to Jadon Sancho. At his age, still not completely sure what his best position is. Still hasn't really achieved his full potential. You now have Felix that you're trying to get the best out of and Jadon Sancho. In my opinion, signing both those guys for a combined fee of what? 50, 60, 70 million pounds, if all add-ons are kind of accomplished. I find that extremely bizarre, and I don't really see where he fits into this team personally. But more power to him. I'm happy United have kind of washed their hands of this deal. It's a saga that we can kind of move on from. But yeah, man, for me, it's a tough competition to win because United have made some awful signings in the last 10 or so years, especially under Ed Woodward. But another thing that for me makes Jadon Sancho the worst signing United have made is the fact that when you look at an Alexis Sanchez, when you look at a Di Maria, when you look at a Falcao, you can almost understand why they were bad signings. They were Ed Woodward signings. They were Glazers signings. They wanted to sign the biggest, hottest commodity on the market. Who's going to be the guy that sells the most shirts? Has the biggest transfer value on the market? Who's the biggest name United can sign? It makes sense why they signed those guys. Jadon Sancho was supposed to be almost the poster boy of Man United moving away from that. It was Ollie's regime. We were supposed to be signing young, exciting British talent that fit a young, exciting British team, all in a similar age group. He was supposed to be part of this terrific young front, exciting, vibrant front three of himself, Martial, Rashford. He wasn't supposed to be a flop. You look at Alexis, Di Maria, and Falcao, you can understand why they were flops. It was simply signing big names for the sake of signing big names. Sancho was supposed to be moving away from that way of thinking. And that's why, for me, it makes it even more disappointing. But like I said, more power to Jadon Sancho. And I hope he can find his career back, and I hope he can get it going at Chelsea. But do I believe it's going to happen? I don't. Mount is going to be in that conversation soon. There's every chance he is. There's every chance Mason Mount finds himself in that conversation. 1,000%. It's something that I'll only really be able to say once Mount leaves. But at the moment, Mount is 1,000% in conversation as one of the worst signings United have made. Because, bro, when you think about it, we signed him with a year left on his contract, coming off a very poor season, an injury-riddled season. And what he's given us since that point is a year where he missed almost the entire campaign, and another year where he's out for another 5 weeks. At the moment, Mason Mount is ranking high in our worst ever signings, 1,000%. And we give him the number 7. It will never compare it to Sancho because Mount clearly tries his hardest. I can't lie, chat. This whole trying your hardest thing for me, it doesn't really bear much fruit for me, honestly. Trying hard is like a bare minimum. And you can say, oh, well, Sancho didn't even reach the bare minimum. But I'm not going to give someone flowers for trying hard. Like that for me is not the one. Like, Antony tries hard as well, too. He is 1,000% in conversation for our worst ever signing. 1,000%. Yeah, if you're shit and you try your hardest, you're still shit. You can get away with that when you're like Hannibal Mejbri, bro. If you cost us absolutely nothing, or you're just like, I don't know, no one expected anything of you. Then hard work, okay, I give you it. McTominay, okay, you work hard. But if I sign you for 60 million pounds and the best thing I can talk about is your work rate, I'm good, bro.